You are listening to Shaoni, Born from the Light, by Iowan. Read by Kevin M. Connolly. Chapter 45, Killing the Light Beings. With all that talk about the future of the Earth, mankind, our personal evolution, what are we doing to prepare our children? What about them? What do we teach them? What do we show them? How do we help them? Whilst ever more children are being born into the light, many of them are being silenced from the very start, and we allow it to happen.
Help me! Somebody help me, please!
Shaoni yelled it out from the top of his lungs, crying in fear. They were giving him a drug, forcing him to take it. Over the past few months, Shaoni had slowly come to see beyond the veil that clouded his daily vision. He had come to understand, to experience for himself, the beauty of creation as it was in essence. He had experienced love in its purest form, had learned to see the beauty that lies hidden within all that lived. He had learned to turn his attention inwards and listen to a deeper source of knowledge, a knowledge containing answers that went beyond anything he had ever read about in books. He had traveled into the world of the thousand lights, as he called it, to see the healing powers at work. But now, just now that he had come to understand all this, a stranger had walked into his life. Someone who had decided that something was wrong with him. "This Shaoni boy is abnormal, confused, possibly retarded," he said. "Fortunately, I have a solution, a wonder drug. The only thing the boy has to do is take this drug. Twice a day to start with, for a whole year, maybe longer. Oh yes, there are some minor side effects to this drug," he added casually. "For some reason, you stop growing and your brain might get damaged because it wouldn't receive enough blood. But that wasn't really a problem," so he said. Once a year they just stop the medication to allow him to catch up on growing. "Then again," he added, "there is this other minor problem. For some inexplicable reason, this drug also seems to be very addictive, and if you try to stop taking it, you may have anxiety attacks and get depressed and so on. But in most cases that is only temporary, so you see. Just as I said before, nothing to worry about really." Shaoni, however, didn't want to take the drug, not only because it could cause brain damage, or because he might get addicted to it, but mainly because it would change who he really was. He would no longer be the happy little boy that he was. He wouldn't feel like playing anymore, wouldn't have those happy thoughts any longer. No, taking this drug would change him into a dull person, not capable of experiencing any deep feelings of joy or love. The boy was scared stiff. He looked at the man holding the drug in his hand. "Just a small pill," the man said, moving forward. "Very easy to swallow." Shaoni's whole body was trembling in fear. "Just side effects," the man repeated, as if trying to convince himself. "Nothing to worry about. Soon you will be normal again. Normal like us." Shaoni looked around in despair, trying to find someone to help him.
Help me, please!
He cried out once again, but the only answer that came was, "Shut up and be quiet. You are far too young to have an opinion. What would you know about these things anyhow? Just swallow this pill now and become normal again." By now, Shaoni's whole body was sweating with fear. They forced the pill down his throat. There was nothing he could do. Life as he knew it would soon be over now. He would no longer be able to follow his path, the path his soul had intended him to take.
Why doesn't anybody help me?
He yelled out a last time, but nobody answered. Nobody seemed to care. "What a stupid boy," were the last words he heard. Then he felt how the pill started to do its work. He felt the joy vanishing from his life. My God, it was over. Who would have thought it could end like this? Shaoni woke up with a shock, his whole body covered in sweat. He looked around and saw the wizard still asleep. It had all been just a dream.
Thank God,
he said.
It was a nightmare.
What Shaoni didn't realize, however, was that the nightmare was real, and the horror was much worse than the nightmare he had just lived. The real horror was that, as Shaoni went over to wake the wizard, over 6% of American children got up as well. They woke up to take a drug, a pill prescribed by a psychiatrist, a pill preventing them from growing, preventing them from being. How many of these kids are just like Shaoni? How many of them are being labeled, just as Shaoni had been? Young light beings, labeled abnormal, confused, possibly retarded. How many are taking a drug preventing them from being who they really are? How many of them are light beings, being misunderstood and silenced? Thank you for enjoying this chapter of Shaoni, Born from the Light. To hear more of these stories, please visit www.shaoni.net/audio. If you prefer to receive all of these stories in print, visit www.shaoni.net/book.